Hey class, I just want to walk you through a paper and just let you kind of see what I'm thinking about as I read your papers. I also want to make sure you know how to see all of the feedback that you receive. So this is a paper from a student in another class of mine this semester, and you'll see here on the side, you'll see my comments, right? You'll also see some uh, comments directly on the paper. A lot of times I might put like, here the writer wrote Angel Duckworth. I mean, they simply just left off the A. I'm just kind of pointing it out for them. So you'll see some stuff, some writing from and comments from me directly on the paper. You'll see comment bubbles on the side. So anytime you see one of these bubbles, if you click on it, it'll lead you to the comment on the side if it's not already visible. Okay, so that's one type of comment and feedback that you're going to see from me. And then the other one is over here in the assignment comments, you see it says see attached files, and there's going to be a Word document there from me. And if you open that up, you're going to see a grade sheet that kind of breaks it down paragraph by paragraph and tells you the things I was looking for, tells you how many points you could receive and how many you actually received, okay? And just as an overview, right? So I was looking to see if you could do a good job with the introduction. Earlier in the semester, I'd shown you a video that talked a little bit about the things that a good introduction might do, where it would have a hook, it would give the background information about Gladwell and his ideas, and then it would have your thesis. So I wanted to see if you could do those things. The they say is basically, did you incorporate Gladwell's ideas into your body paragraphs, okay? And were you clearly stating what his ideas were? Were you using textual evidence, quotes from the book, to illustrate those ideas and explain those ideas and concepts? And were you using the templates from they say, I say to introduce the quotes? Or were you using quotation sandwiches to get in and out of the quote and explain the quote after you've incorporated it? And then the I say is you responding to what Gladwell said, right? So here's where you're getting into the conversation, right? You're saying, hey, here's what I think. That's what Gladwell thinks. This is what I think. I agree with him. I disagree with him. I'm of two minds, whatever the case may be. And then in the conclusion, right, you should be restating your thesis. You should add a final thought, which is kind of like, to give some new bit of information that still connects to what you're talking about. In a video earlier this semester, I gave you some different strategies for doing that. I said you could predict the future, you could point to the larger implications, or you could solve a problem. And then bookending the hook means, if you started with a question, you should now answer the question. If you started with a statistic, you would now come back to that. And, then there's also, I gave you some points for, grammatical correctness and stuff like that. And then MLA or APA formatting, which mostly meant like, did you put a header up there? And did you try at least make an effort to cite? I know we haven't really talked much about it yet, or we've talked about it now, but it's after we kind of did this paper. So I was really, you almost always got at least 3, probably 4 points for doing that, even if you just tried. And if you got the citation correct, you'd get 5 points. So that's the grade sheet, right? So if you're going to revise, take a look at the grade sheet, use my feedback there to help you figure out where to focus in addition to the feedback on the actual paper, okay? And I just wanted to show you this paper because I think this writer did a really good job of kind of addressing the assignment, right? So they, they start by saying, my whole life I've heard that success is due to the people around you and family, right? And then they say, Gladwell kind of agrees with this, right? He says family and people outside of our families are important also. And then they also incorporate Angela Duckworth, which was a video we watched earlier this semester, into the paper. And then they make a clear statement at the end of the intro about what they're going to argue in the paper, okay? So they make all the moves of an introduction. And then what they do really nicely, and the reason I wanted to show you this paper is, in each paragraph, they kind of toggle back and forth between Gladwell's ideas and their own ideas, right? So here, she starts by talking about the introduction of outliers, right? And she talks about the Rosettans and how they were surrounded not just by their immediate family, but generational family, and they all lived under the same roof, according to Professor Wolf, right? So she's kind of summarizing the book, right? And then she is moving into her own ideas, her I say, right? I believe family is the most important factor to succeed at anything in life. Even Gladwell mentioned in his book that we owe our success to parentage and cultural legacies. So she's putting herself in conversation really effectively with Gladwell. Um, there are various ways families help us succeed. The family contributes to our success by helping us meet our basic needs and financial expenses. When our basic needs are met, our mind is at rest and free of any worries, right? So this is all her idea, and then she goes, Gladwell agrees when he writes that, right? And now she's got textual support from Gladwell. It's all but impossible to reach that number all by yourself by the time you are a young adult. You have to have a parent who encourages and supports you, right? And then once she has the quote, she then is going to talk a little bit about it, right? Even Gladwell laid emphasis on the importance of family's contribution to one's success, which I strongly agree to. So she's doing a good job of toggling back and forth between her ideas and Gladwell's ideas. And she's going to continue to do that in each body paragraph. So, okay, and so then in her second body paragraph, right, she moves into another specific example from the book and connects it to her own life, right? So here she moves from family into community and religious groups, right? So one thing I want to point out is this is a nice job of like kind of organizing into discrete parts and finding a new way to support her argument that it's the people around you, right? So furthermore, the community and religious groups are also places where you can attain success. A perfect example is a civic organization called the Egalitarian Echoes Community in the introductory part of the Outliers, right? And she connects this to her own life where she talks about how somebody helped her get an accommodation in Pennsylvania when she wanted to rent an apartment, and a friend advised her not to rent but to get to buy a house instead, right? And so I'm assuming actually one thing that could be a little clearer here is maybe like, was that person connected with some civic organization or something like that? And otherwise, I guess it can be a friend. It's less compelling evidence that way, but this is still a nice paragraph that is making a second effort to support the writer's claim. Okay, and then in the last paragraph, they move on to educators, who are another group of people who could help you with success, right? And again, she connects it to the book. She talks about how even the hockey players needed coaches, even if they had that, even if you had the help of the cutoff age, there was still, this need to be taught how to do something and how to be good at something. Okay, and so again, she connects this to her. Actually, let me see. Regardless of the choice, I mean, she connects this to anyone's life, where she's saying, like, regardless of what you want to become, right, you're going to need an educator, which is, again, like connecting her. That's her I say, right? And she's connecting it to what Gladwell said about hockey players and stuff. And so she's doing kind of her own analysis, too. Like, she's thinking about the hockey player example and saying, like, hey, even in that example, there was an educator, and that connects to what I want to say, okay? So and then in the conclusion, she, restates her thesis, adds a little something, and bookends the hook. So, like, just overall, this was just a really strong paper in the way that it approached the assignment, the way that it used the book to build its they say, and the way that it used specific concrete examples from the writer's life to build the I say. So, as you're revising, take that into consideration in just thinking about how to structure your own paper and the things that I'm looking for, okay, in addition to like looking at the feedback you got on your specific paper. Okay, good luck.